NFL fans? Are you ready? This is the podcast on all things NFL. The fantasy football players you should sit, ones you should start, guest speakers, game recaps, pre-game predictions, plus live call-ins from viewers, and so much more. Welcome to NFL Talk Live with your hosts, Reigning Ravens 1 and Alex, aka PurpleSwordfish.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another edition of NFL Talk Live. I'm your host, Reigning Ravens 1, joined by my fellow co-host, Alex, aka PurpleSwordfish. Alex, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well, man. This is probably my favorite time of the year, heading into the holiday season. Dare I say, is it still okay to say the Christmas season? Am I going to offend people by saying that?
On this show, I think you're in a safe space.
I'm in a safe space. All right. So, we're here, man. 2 weeks left in the season. I cannot believe, or rather, 2 weeks left in the regular season. I can't believe it's been so quick. I don't know if it's because you're on here, Alex, or I don't know if it's because of the contribution that we've seen from the chat during these podcasts, these various podcasts throughout the year. But this season has been a blur to me. Like, I've never in my life, I can honestly say, never in my life have I seen an NFL season elapse so quickly like this one. I don't know, do you get the same kind of feeling to it, or not really?
No, it's certainly gone by fast for me. Fantasy football always makes it a little bit of a blur for me.
It does. It does. Yeah, fantasy football plays a huge role in that. It's huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Week 15, if you want to take a look at that real quick, it wasn't really too kind to me because I got a couple games wrong that I should have gotten right. Let me go ahead and put that up on the screen for people. So Thursday Night Football, I'm pretty sure you and I continue to be money on Thursday nights, right? Our Thursday night picks are usually pretty good.
Yeah, generally speaking, we got off to a rough start this year, but we did kind of turn that around.
We did. I think I went 0 for 3 at the very start of the year, and then I've turned that ship around and never looked back since. Saturday Night Football. How do you feel about that? Saturday daytime and Saturday Night Football. Kind of the same opinion as Thursday games, or how do you feel about that?
I really don't like it. My problem with it is in the playoffs, I get it, because in the playoffs, you want it so that every single game doesn't have another game on that you're flipping back and forth between.
Right.
I get that end of it, but the Saturday Night Football doesn't work for my personal schedule, so I'm not really a fan of it. I also want to say, when it comes to player safety, I think that extra day of rest is still crucial. I think most players and coaches would say the extra day of rest / preparation would be ideal. So not really a fan of it in the regular season, but I kind of get why they're doing it.
I got you. I kind of feel like I don't mind it. I feel like for the players, if I'm a player, I would rather play on a Saturday game than a Thursday game, especially if you're coming off of a short week. Like if you're going Monday to Thursday, that's rough. But Monday through Saturday, that's becomes a little bit more doable at that point, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I think Thursday Night Football, as much as I like football during the week, as a fan from a selfish perspective, I really do like Thursday Night Football. But when it comes to the players, the coaches, they've pretty much unanimously come out and said, this is not something that we really like. And it's really just the league finding a way to get one more primetime game in the football week. So, I'm kind of on board. I just think it's a player safety issue, but that's just me. I know I've been blowing that horn all year.
No, I know, and I'm all about the player safety thing, believe me. But, like you said, this is the time of the year where they're going to start showing more and more of these primetime games, especially for teams that are on the cusp or on the bubble of making the playoffs. Man, Cowboys and Raiders, what a heck of a game that was. I didn't see that coming, to be honest with you. And did you see what the NFL posted this morning on Twitter? They said, effective immediately, referees can no longer use folded up note cards as a method of measurement. Because, obviously you saw what happened when Gene Steratore used a half-folded note card and said, hey, Cowboys first down. That pretty much was a pivotal moment in the game. So they said, hey, no more folded note cards. We're going to do it legit. You're rolling your eyes. That's pretty much how I feel.
It's buffoonery. I mean, you can't just make up the rules as you go. And I mean, you know, with all the technology we have, like, can't we hook like a laser pointer up to the first down marker or something, like something more scientific than an old guy with a folded up index card? I think that's probably on the bottom of things that I would go with. Old guy with a folded up index card. But I mean,
and you know, like, I have realistic expectations. I understand, you know, I'm an 80s kid. I grew up, I was born in 87. For like leading up to 2000, everyone was telling us like, hey, we're going to have flying cars in 2000. I'm like, not really reasonable. But is it considered reasonable to think that in 2017 we should be able to have footballs that are like wired with like computer chips that can digitally tell us yes or no, is it a first down? Like, I think that's doable. We should have that capability by now. Don't you agree?
Well, you can't do it because the Patriots would deflate the ball and then move the chip around.
Nice. Well done. Well done. Speaking of buffoonery, now, you guys know me. I'm a Ravens fan. I can't stand the Steelers. But this is a little bit of buffoonery. The Steelers and Patriots game, that was a good game. I want to say the Steelers were robbed towards the end of that game. How was Jesse James? Did you see that play, Alex, where Jesse James catches the ball and it extends across the finish line?
Yeah, we had a half-hour conversation in my house with my fiance, who's a diehard Steelers fan.
Okay,
had a half-hour conversation about the catch rule.
Okay, so I understand the rule. I think I understand the rule. And if I apply that rule, that's a touchdown. Because he's not down, he's not touchdown, but he is able to extend it for a touchdown. Now, you explain to me, what am I missing here? Why was that not a touchdown? Why does it feel like the Steelers got robbed that play?
So the best way I can explain it is when you catch a football in the NFL, for it to be ruled a catch, you have to take it all the way to the ground and have control, or make an athletic move to continue running after the catch. So, for example, in this case, even though he's reaching out, he's not advancing the ball at that point. So it's not considered a full catch until he goes to the ground with full control of the football. That's my understanding of the catch rule. What I will say is it's the one rule, and I'm not trying to talk down to NFL fans at all, because I think that there's a lot of nuances to football, and most fans get those, right? But I think with the catch rule, it's probably the most misunderstood rule by casual fans. Just like this year, we've also seen a number of cases, specifically with the Raiders game, where people didn't understand the rule of if you lose control of the football and it rolls out the back of the end zone, it's a touchback, even though you were the team advancing the ball in the first place. So there's several rules that have come to light this year, index cards removed, where, you know, fans really just don't truly understand it. And I think it does, you know, it is something for the NFL competition committee to take a look at, specifically at the catch rule, because I don't think that people understand it. And I think there's quite a few people in the NFL, maybe even playing, that don't understand it either.
I got you. To me, I looked at it as in, okay, he catches the ball. To me, he does make a football move. He does make a football move, and he's trying to advance that ball into the end zone. They didn't give it to him. Obviously, like I said, I am upset for the Steelers, but at the same time, like, hey, good. You know, I needed Pittsburgh to lose. You know, I'm a Ravens fan. Forget it. Anything else you want to talk about Week 15? Besides are we even going to go ahead and mention the 42-7 drubbing of the Seattle Seahawks by the LA Rams?
So I'm just going to go out. Okay, so first off, I don't know if that Seattle fan, Banana Boy, who always calls me out for not picking the Seahawks and says I don't believe in them. Well, that's why I don't believe in them, Banana Boy. But, yeah, you know, Rams, in my opinion, they played a really tough and hard game against the Eagles until, you know, Wentz got hurt. The Rams looked really good. I think that they were just a couple plays away from beating the Eagles, right? Yeah. That really showed me something. And then to go a step further, you know, I think their statement game was always this one against the Seahawks. This was them saying, hey, we can win this division. They went out, they executed, they played lights out. The 7 points that Seattle scored was pretty much in garbage time. So in my opinion, the Rams are, and they have solidified themselves as the best team in the NFC West. And I think at this point, with the Carson Wentz injury, I think we have to start looking at the Rams as potentially the best team in the NFC. So they've got a lot to play for here in the next 2 weeks. But in my opinion, the Rams, they're a contender. We have to stop saying that they're just having a good year. Yeah, I think this is a team that could potentially go to the NFC Championship game and or the Super Bowl.
I agree. The Rams have taken down some Titans this year, and I don't mean the team the Titans, but actual Titans in the league. Like, I want to say top 5 teams. I think they're 4-1 against the league's best teams right now. So, yeah, Rams to me are a legit team. I'm surprised I don't see him as more, like the playoff predictor things. Let me go ahead and put that up real quick. I don't know if I have the playoff predictor machine thing. I don't have it up here, but essentially ESPN has this playoff predictor where you click it and it generates the playoff picture and who's going to go to the Super Bowl, right? For whatever reason, every time you click it, like if you click it 10 times, 8 of those clicks is not even going to show the Rams in the playoffs. It's so weird. It's so weird. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, it shows them in the playoffs, but it doesn't have them advancing past the first round. Like, really? They're a better team than that. I can't make sense of that. But here's the playoff picture right now. If the season ended today, December 21st, 2017, if the playoffs ended today, this is what it would look like. It would be the Bills taking on the Jags, Titans at Chiefs, and then Falcons, Rams, Panthers, Saints. That's a wild card round. Vikings, Eagles, Steelers, Patriots all have a solidified position in the playoffs. In the hunt is my team, the Ravens, followed by the Chargers, Raiders, and Dolphins in the AFC side. And in the NFC side, we've got the Lions, Seahawks, yes, they're still very much in the running, and the Cowboys. So, anything you want to say about that, Alex? I mean, any surprises here?
Well, I mean, it is surprising that the Chargers, even though they'd lost last week, have a chance. They have a 14% chance of getting in.
Yeah.
I think they have I think if I had to put a percentage on it, I would give them more than 14%. I think that they're going to win out. I think they're just going to need some help. I would also say the Ravens, they're playing really well lately. I'd really like to see them get in the playoffs because, with the Bills doing everything they can to not be good this year, I'd really like to see a team like the Ravens or the Chargers get in, teams that are actually trying to win now. Even the Titans, just one of the league's most inconsistent football squads out there. I really don't want to see them in the playoffs just because I think that you put the Ravens or the Chargers in there, it'll make for a more interesting divisional or wild card game.
Yeah, of course. And yeah, you're right. The Bills aren't playing well, yet they're still the 6th seed. They have the last seed in the wild card race. That may change this week, though. If you're ready, I'm ready. We can go into the week 16 picks.
Let's do it.
Alrighty. So, again, no Thursday games this week. I don't know if that's a shocker to some of you guys, but there is no games. We've got the Colts and the Ravens. Ravens hosting this game. This is going to be a good game. Any Ravens game at home during December, man, talk about December Joe. And we're not talking about a cup of Joe. We're talking about December Joe Flacco, where he averages 275 yards, 61% completion rate, 5 touchdowns, and 1 interception so far. And I don't mean to hype up my own team because, I'm obviously happy. And I got a rooting interest for this one, But Indianapolis, fan or not, Indianapolis has mentally checked out. They don't play a great defense and isn't very good on offense. They are a team playing for nothing. And you're going to hear me say that a lot about some of these Week 16 picks. It's going to be short. I don't have much to say about these matchups. Some of them are just playing for nothing. Indianapolis is one of those teams that's playing for nothing. A win for Baltimore here means that they stay alive in the AFC wildcard race. They do need 2 victories to win and to get into playoffs. They need 2 victories. This is going to help us. And we got the Bengals next week. Ravens have, like Alex said, have been really good lately. They've been playing well on offense. Defense continuing to do its thing. Top 3 defense, in my opinion. Continue to generate turnovers and scoring off of turnovers. I'm taking the Ravens heavy This is going to be my slam dunk pick of the week. Ravens.
Vegas would agree with you. They have a 13.5-point line on this game. Obviously, it's favoring the Ravens. I got to say, I would agree with this one. I don't think that they're playing for much. I think Chuck Pagano is probably coaching his last 2 games as the Colts head coach. I think he's gone after this season. I don't think that it's necessarily his fault. Who could have seen the issues with Andrew Luck's injury? But this Colts team has not played well in the last 5 games. They've looked very bad against good teams, against bad teams, against mediocre teams. They've just looked bad. So I got the Ravens winning this one. And fun fact for you, just to show you how bad the Colts situation is, this is the first time since 1997 they haven't had a player in the Pro Bowl. Like they just have not had a good, they have not had a good year. So Ravens going to win this one. They need the win. They're playing for, this is a must win for them. This is a playoff game in a way. So I got the Ravens winning this one.
All righty. We're both on the Ravens. By the way, I want to remind you guys watching at home, when it comes to the standings, I am 2 games ahead of Alex in the overall picks, but that can change this week. We'll see. Minnesota, 11-3 Minnesota. Going on into the Aaron Rodgers list, Green Bay Packers 7-7 team. This is going to play on the frozen tundra. Packers, let's be honest, had a pretty nice little run with Aaron Rodgers back. But when you think about it, did they? Did they really have a good run? Brett Hundley is now back under center from a team that's freshly eliminated from the playoffs. I understand why the Packers did this. They said, all right, if our team's going to be out of the running for the playoffs, why put our number 1 guy, Aaron Rodgers, out there? Pull him, that's fine. Healthy scratch. Let's just ride out Hundley for the rest of the year. It makes sense to me. It's a team freshly eliminated from playoffs. Meanwhile, Minnesota needs a win here. Needs it. If they win this one, they're pretty much ensured a first-round bye in the NFC. Minnesota's defense looked extremely angry last week against the Bengals. I believe 1 pick 6 and 1 fumble 6, if I'm not mistaken. Expect them to look extra angry this game against a division foe. Trust me, they don't care if Aaron Rodgers is playing or not. Maybe they do a little bit. But, man, when you see Vikings and Packers games, you know it's going to be a knockout game. I'm taking the Vikings to win and lock up that first-round bye position.
Yeah, you said it. The Vikings have a lot to play for here. I know it's late in the year. They've obviously locked themselves up as a playoff team, but they're playing great football. I think that'll continue here. The Packers, I think, are trending downward. I don't think that's Brett Hundley's fault. I don't think that's Aaron Rodgers' fault. I think it's the surrounding team. They haven't built a very good team around the quarterback position. They're dealing with some injuries. Aaron Rodgers getting shut down for the year, I think, is kind of a little bit of a bummer for that locker room. So I'm taking the Vikings here. I do think they'll cover the 9-point spread as well, even though they're playing on the road. But again, it's kind of a case of one team, nothing to play for, another team trying to jockey for some playoff position. So Vikings all the way on this one.
I also want to add in a side note. I'm looking at the comment section here. A friend of the stream, a good friend of the stream, the official Mole, states that they also need a Panthers loss as well to get a first round bye this week. That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. So thanks for weighing in on that. Next game. So that covers all of Saturday football, Saturday daytime football, and Saturday nighttime football. Let's head into Sunday football. And yes, guys, as I scroll down, I noticed that there's 2 Monday night games this week. 2 Monday night games this week as well. So the lineup for Sunday is going to be a little bit slimmer than usual. So we've got the Jets going into New York to play, we got the Chargers playing the Jets. Jets hosting this one. In one of those games, I'm not going to have much to say. However, I give the slight nod to the Chargers. Yes, for all intents and purposes, this is a total mismatch. Okay, Chargers pass rush could potentially envelop Bryce Petty this game. Petty stepped in pretty admirably for the injured Josh McCown this year. And I will say that as a replacement, he's doing pretty well. He's doing a lot better than what I expected him to do. Chargers, the reason why I give them the nod is because they're still alive in a playoff hunt, but they need a lot of help. They don't control their own destiny. They looked awful against the Chiefs last Saturday. Believe me, I know. Shout out to 5 Points Vids. He came down here to Vegas. We actually went out to the Bellagio and watched it, and he did place a little bit of a wager and didn't go too well. He tweeted about it today. They looked awful against the Chiefs, but I think that the Chargers will respond here. Phillip Rivers, this is his time of year. He's going to try to keep his Chargers alive. He's going to keep his team alive. And like I said, Chargers are playing for something. Jets are not. I'm taking the Chargers, even though they're playing away. And they're traveling across the nation to play this game, but I still got the Chargers. What about you, Alex?
If there's one thing the Chargers have done this year, it's come through in crunch time. I know that they didn't look too great against the Chiefs, but they came pretty close. And when their back was against the wall earlier this year, they certainly came through. They're not a terrific road team. They're 3-4 this year on the road. But with the Jets playing Bryce Petty, who I have almost no faith in, the Jets certainly don't have a whole lot of faith in him either. Same thing goes with Christian Hackenberg. It's just not a good situation in New York right now. I'm taking the Chargers to win here, keep their playoff chances alive.
Okay.
And, end this game hoping that they get a little help from some other teams that they need to lose.
All righty. And by the way, quick side note, shout out to everyone who's still alive in their playoff, fantasy football playoff races. I happen to be in the finals game of this week, and I'm going up against a very unfavorable matchup. Very may well end up losing my matchup, but it's all fun and games. So congrats to all of you guys who made it to the playoffs in your fantasy leagues. Next up is I guess you could call it a I'm going to call it a meaningless game. It's the 6-8 Washington Redskins hosting the 5-9 Denver Broncos. Denver, yes, you could say that they're on a 2-game win streak, if you want to call it that. If you want to look at the positive in people, it was against the Colts and the Jets. They're on a 2-game win streak. The thing is, can Denver do damage to a banged-up Redskins team that's just trying to get through the season and show some pride for Jay Gruden? Can they? I don't see it happening. I don't think Denver's a good team. I'm not buying into that 2-game win streak because they're against tomato cans. Kirk Cousins has played a lot. Kirk Cousins right now in this game, the only reason why it's meaningful to him because there's a lot of money on the line for him. And I'll explain that because he's playing for a new contract. Next year, he's due for one, and he's trying to kind of earn his keep, in other words. So expect him to play very well against this Denver Broncos secondary. I'm taking the Redskins playing at home, winning this one. I don't know what the line is on this, but 6-8 versus 5-9. I'm assuming it's plus or minus like 3.5 or 4.
You're right on the dot, man.
Yeah.
Redskins are a 3.5-point favorite.
Okay, there you go. And that's pretty much just because they're a home team. Usually 3-point swing happens to go to the home team. So who do you have?
Well, this is a tough one, man. Like this could be a coin flip game, but the thing is, I don't really see the Broncos. I know Osweiler looked really good against the Colts. I don't even know who they're starting this week. I'm assuming it'll probably be Osweiler again, but you never know with the Broncos week to week.
Right.
But doing anything against the Colts defense is not much of an accomplishment. So with the Redskins, I look at motivation. I think that they are trying to play to save Gruden's job. I think they're also playing for Kirk Cousins, at least. I think he's playing for his next contract.
Absolutely.
I think the Redskins, if they're smart, will hit him with the transition tag so that if somebody wants to sign this guy away, they're going to pay with such a huge cap hit that it will just strangle them for the foreseeable future as a competitive move. I think the Redskins should do that. And I think they really should look at keeping Kirk Cousins long term, regardless. But I think the Redskins win this one. I think it'll be ugly. It'll be close, but I think they'll win. I wouldn't even feel confident taking the spread on this game, a 3.5-point spread. I'd stay out of it altogether, especially if you're playing fantasy football still. So the Redskins win, but barely.
All right, so you're taking the Redskins. So we are 4 for 4. We got the same picks going forward. I don't think much is going to change here. We've got the 11-3 New England Patriots playing up against a division foe in the 8-6 Buffalo Bills. This one's going to be played at the Meadowlands. Wait, is it going to be played at Meadowlands? It is. It's a home game for the Patriots. Buffalo is playing for the playoffs right now. We've already covered that. However, New England is playing for their seeding. As of like the last couple of games that the Patriots played, their wins have not been based off of Tom Brady's performance. He's not carried them to that victory, which is interesting to see. Kind of like how the tides turn in New England. We always think of them like a pretty team. You know, they execute well, but they're really gritty right now, which is a great time for that this time of year because a lot of these teams are gritty in December and January football. There is, if you're looking at it as far as motivation-wise, I like what you said there, Alex. Motivation-wise, there's probably more on the line for the Buffalo Bills, but the Patriots are the better team. I think Tom Brady will finally have a great game for the first time in 3 games. Tyrod Taylor, LaShawn McCoy, yeah, I can't deny the fact that they've been playing very well lately, but I think despite them being really hot lately, they're going to cool down in this game. I'm taking the Patriots to win at home.
Yeah, it's a tough one for the Bills. You know, they really need a win here. They're not a really good road team. They're 2-4 away this year, and they're really banged up. LaShawn McCoy is a limited participant in practice. I know he has been the majority of the year. Kelvin Benjamin's banged up. You know, EJ Gaines. They have a lot of, even Kyle Williams on the D line. That's a guy who really makes that defensive unit go. So they're really banged up going into New England. New England's obviously coming off of a pretty tough week last week. I think they really, really need a win here. So I'm taking the Patriots. I think they'll cover the 12-point spread. They played Buffalo on the road and just absolutely beat them down 23-3.
Yeah,
I think it'll be a very similar type of game here. And I think if there's one guy who's going to be a big difference maker, I think it's going to be Brandon Cooks this week. I think he's really going to make some big plays for them in the pass game and put the Bills away. I think that'll probably knock them out of the playoffs too, if I'm not mistaken.
The Bills, yes. I think a loss here would knock them off. Patriots win here. It's looking like the likely outcome. So we're both on the Patriots then. So moving on then, we got the 8-6 Tennessee Titans, a team that is currently vying for that wild card playoff spot. Going up, they're hosting the 10-4 LA Rams that put a 40-burger on the Seattle Seahawks last week. To me, that fact alone gives me very little concern about the Rams going into this game. Last week's Rams and Seahawks game was the proverbial letdown game for them because they're going to be they're playing a division rival and the Seahawks are at home and all that good stuff. What happened? There was no letdown. Rams killed them. Like I said, they put up a 40-burger on them. This right here, though, this Rams and Titans game is a massive game for the Rams. A win here, and the Rams can clinch the NFC West title. And not to say that Tennessee isn't desperate for a win, because believe me, they are. They're in the hunt. But it's like, it's not the type of team where, especially the way they've been playing lately, it's not a type of team that you want to trust them on offense or defense. And they lost 2 straight games, so it's like, do they really want to be in the playoffs? Do they even belong? They don't appear like the team that belongs. In this game, put simply, the Rams are the better team. Todd Gurley's going to have another stupendous game, and I'm going with the Rams. They're going to win this week.
Yeah, I got bad news for Titans fans. They got 2. They have to win out, I think, to make the playoffs, in my opinion. And they got the Rams, who I think are they're the best offensive team in the league, and then they're one of the better defenses in the league as well. Titans have not shown any ability to score the ball. This turns into a high-scoring game. They have no chance. Even if it turns into a defensive struggle, I still don't think they have a chance. And then the week after, they face the Jaguars. I don't think that's going to be an easier game for them either. So I have them losing here. I think there's not really much to say. Rams will win. They will probably cover the 7-point spread. I think that's a really good line to put some money on. I think the Rams would certainly cover that. I think Todd Gurley will have a good game. I think Jared Goff is up for a good one. And then, Watkins, any Rams receiver should have a pretty good game here. So, Rams win. Titans probably going to be on the outside looking in when the season's over when it comes to the playoffs.
Yeah, we'll see. I certainly agree with you there. They don't look like a team that's prepared themselves for playoffs, and like you said, the road ahead, it's a tough one to hoe for them. It's not looking good for Titans. So, again, we are picking the same team. This right here, the next game we're about to discuss, is, in my opinion, the second best game of the week. Second best. And that is the 10-4 New Orleans Saints hosting the 9-5 Falcons. This is going to be their second matchup of the year. The first matchup went, it was a pretty good game, ended with a last-second interception by Atlanta. Revenge will definitely be on the mind here. Trust me, if I remember that interception, please believe Drew Brees remembered that interception. Revenge will be on the mind for Drew Brees and company here. Atlanta is playing on a short week. Shout out to your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I know that this game determines their playoff wins. Win, and they're in. Simple as that. New Orleans' run defense lately has been slipping a little bit. Let's call a spade here. If they keep that up, I think this may be Devontae Freeman's week to go nuts and run for 150-plus yards, maybe a couple touchdowns. With all that being said, though, I have this game coming down to a field goal. Fourth quarter victory. And I think it's going to be a last-second field goal. By who? You guess it. The Atlanta Falcons. Again, I'm taking the Falcons.
Yeah, I couldn't disagree with you more, sir. I think that...
There it is.
Yeah, I think that the Saints, they're getting Kamara back. They're 6-1 at home. They're a very good home team. They've historically been a very good home team. And Vegas has them as 6-point favorites here. So I think Drew Brees is going to have a very nice game, picking apart Atlanta's secondary. And then in addition to that, I think the Saints' two-headed beast of a running attack is going to be able to open things up for that pass game. Meanwhile, the Falcons, I don't know what to expect from them week to week. It's shocking that they're 9-5. They could have easily been an 8-8 team, in my opinion, with some of the games that they've had this year where they've just barely won. So I have the Saints winning this one. I do think it'll be close. I don't think that the Saints will cover that 6-point spread. So I'm going to walk back on that one a little bit. I do think it'll be close because the Falcons, they got to have this win. But I think the Saints do this, and it puts the Falcons one step closer to just being out of the playoffs altogether. Although I will say it would be kind of cool to see 3 teams from the NFC South in the playoffs. I can't remember the last time that's happened, where 3 teams from one division.
It actually happened. It actually happened I think it was 2013, where it was the Ravens, Steelers, and Bengals. I believe that's the last time that happened, or maybe it was 2014.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I mean, kudos to the Bucks for handing all those teams in the NFC South easy wins throughout the year to make that happen.
Yep, exactly. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and split here. He's taking the Saints. I'm taking the Falcons. So that's our first disagreement of Week 16. I'm liking it. I think we're going to have another disagreement here. Well, we'll see. Now, Alex is pretty realistic. The 10-4 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, wouldn't that be something if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were 10-4? I digress. The 10-4 Carolina Panthers hosting the 4-10 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay, Alex, I'm not pandering to you again, but you guys played very well against Atlanta on Monday Night Football. That was, if you're a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was pretty much your Super Bowl, and you fell short. Similar to what the Bengals did at the Steelers. I don't think Tampa Bay will just lay down this game, especially because, again, it's a division foe. Especially with Jameis Winston trying to trying to prove people wrong about his step back season. A lot of people have been talking about that. That term has been thrown out a lot when they're mentioning Jameis Winston this year. Oh, he's taking a step back this year. I think he's gonna. He's got that very much on the forefront of his mindset as he's entering this game. As Mole said earlier, Carolina can clinch a playoff spot with a win here, but I think they need Minnesota to catch an L as well. Interesting the way the NFC is playing out, but I'm taking the Panthers winning this one at home. Alex?
Yeah, the Bucks, I think they have a lot to play for here. I don't think that they will go in and, just kind of mail it in this game. I think Jameis Winston does have a lot to play for. I don't think that he's necessarily taken a step back this year. I just don't think that he's improved either. I mean, he was given more weapons, hasn't done as much as people expected with them. I still think he's an above average quarterback as he stands right now. He's above average. Mm-hmm. But when you pick somebody number 1 overall, you're expecting elite. You're expecting top 10 quarterback, top 5 quarterback. You're expecting something like Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, guys who went very high at the draft, who are playing at a very high level years 2 and 3. So Jameis Winston has not shown that. He's shown flashes. Last week was a great flash. Very good game, very complete game by him. He took care of the football. That's always been his biggest problem. Not so much with just interceptions, but also fumbles. So I think they have a lot to play for here, especially with Jameis Winston. I think that defense has a lot to prove. I think a lot of those guys are kind of playing for their job next year. And then in addition to that, I think Dirk Cutter is certainly he could potentially be coaching for his job as well here. So a lot to play for the Bucs. However, the Panthers really need this win, as you said. They're playing very good football as of late. Seems like the Panthers offense is getting a little bit better, and they seem to be using Christian McCaffrey in some more inventive and creative ways. And I like seeing that because when he got drafted, I said, oh boy, the NFC South, they're in some trouble here because it's 2 really good playmakers in Cam Newton and Christian McCaffrey. Very interesting what they could do with those 2. I think the Panthers will win this one. I think it'll be closer than the 10-point spread would have you believe, but I do think the Panthers win this one. And if I had to guess how it'll happen, I would say that the Bucs will probably get really close. Their kicker will slip on a banana peel. Kick goes wide left. Jameis Winston comes off the sideline looking visibly frustrated. And that has to be something that the Bucs shore up this offseason. Little side note here. They got to figure out special teams. They got a great punter, but they have no answer at kicker. And the Bucs have not had an answer at kicker since Matt Bryant, a guy who, in my opinion, never should have left Tampa Bay. But nevertheless, Panthers win this one.
Okay. And another side note here by the official Mole. He's saying Carolina will clinch a playoff berth with a win or tie against the Buccaneers or with a Cowboys-Seahawks tie. So, needless to say, there's going to be a lot of scoreboard watching this week. Doesn't matter what game you're watching. So, next up, we've got the 4-10. Okay, so this is one of those games where I'm talking about nobody's playing for anything. We got the 4-10 Chicago Bears hosting the 0-14 Cleveland Browns. I take that back. Maybe the Browns are playing for something. I think it's sad that Jordan Howard was snubbed out of the Pro Bowl roster. Not to say that he won't go, but I think Jordan Howard might be able to make it on as a backup, as an alternate, as they normally do. Because a lot of players just opt not to go, right? So I think Jordan Howard might be able to get in that way. But it sucks that he wasn't like one of those first ballot running backs. He had a pretty good year this year. Cleveland is very susceptible right now through the air, and Mitchell Trubisky will be looking to bounce back, especially after last week's deflating loss. Chicago won't want to be the Cleveland Browns' first win of the year, and possibly only win of the year. So expect Chicago to play for that. Other than that, I don't really see what the motivation is for them to win here. They're playing against a team that's playing for nothing in the Cleveland Browns. Well, they are playing for one thing, and that's to try to get one win. I don't know what the line is with this one. can you help me out? What's the Vegas line on this? Because I know a lot of people, especially like the ESPN pundits, are showing Cleveland winning this game. I don't see it happening. I think everyone wants Cleveland to get that one win. I don't know. I don't know why.
What person looked at anything the Browns have done this year other than their week 1 game against the Steelers and was encouraged by it, other than somebody like Hugh Jackson, who's clearly biased? Like, Chicago is listed as a 6.5 point favorite, and I would say that line is too low.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Because, I mean, there's not much motivation. You've thrown that term out a couple times, and I've thrown it out a couple times this podcast. There's really not much motivation going into this game for either team. Like I said, Bears don't want to be the possibly only win the Cleveland Browns get this year. Believe me, that feeling sucks. That happened a couple years ago where my Ravens were the only victory that the Cleveland Browns got that year, and it was a constant meme. Nobody wants to be that team. So, for that reason, I'm taking the Chicago Bears to win at home. It seems like the safe bet here.
I think it is a safe bet. I would agree with you on that. I do think the Browns have a lot to play for. I think that is something. So first off, there's 53 guys in that locker room who consider themselves professionals and are playing for their job next year. I don't think there's many guys on this roster who know 100%, no doubt, that they will be on the week 1 roster next year. So I think there's a lot of guys who are playing for their jobs, literally. I think Hugh Jackson is coaching for his, and I think that every guy in that locker room, whether they have a job next year or not, doesn't want to be part of an 0-16 team. I think there's only been one of those. I could be wrong, maybe 2. I know the Detroit Lions did it, and I know a couple other teams came close. But, you know, if you're in that locker room, you certainly do not want to be another 0-16 team. So I think there's quite a bit to play for. But the problem is, you know, I thought it was very enlightening when the new GM or new VP of player personnel, whatever title they gave the new guy calling the shots in terms of personnel in Cleveland, I thought it was really enlightening when he said, we haven't gone out and gotten players to be competitive, something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing. Yeah. Basically threw the entire roster under the bus, saying we haven't given the coaching staff players that they need to realistically win games. I think there is some truth to that. I think all the players that the Browns got in this draft were very good. And I think that those guys are building blocks for their future. Even DeShone Kizer, I still think there's hope for him. I think they might have ruined him this year. I think they might have ruined his self-confidence. But I do think that he has some potential. But here's the problem. They go against the Bears, who have a very good defense, a solid defense. It's top half of the league. They have a good running attack. They can run the ball, keep it out of Trubisky's hands.
Yep.
Because let's be honest, Trubisky isn't really ready to put a team on his back just quite yet. I think you see flashes of it, and it's really encouraging. But right now, they're going to have to rely on that running attack. But between the running attack and the defense, I think that they're going to really go out there and embarrass the Browns. Browns are on the road. They haven't been terrific on the road. Well, they haven't been good anywhere, but they haven't been. They've been worse on the road. So I think the Bears win. I think they cover the 6.5 point spread. Another intriguing one if you're going to put money on a game. I would bet on the Bears here. But you know, it just stinks, man. I feel bad for Cleveland fans. Like it's not fair.
Took the words right out of my mouth. I do feel bad for Cleveland fans. A lot of people are calling for the head of Hugh Jackson, and for the ownership to come out and say, hey, Hugh Jackson is guaranteed a job next year. For them to say, hey, we're not going to address this as a possible issue, that maybe we've got some bad coaching there, but for them to come out, and that's just like a slap in the face for Cleveland Browns fans, in my opinion. That's the way I saw it. So we're both on the Bears then, right? For that game.
Yep.
Alrighty. Next up, we got the 5-9 Cincinnati Bengals hosting the 8-9 Detroit Lions. Bengals, again, for all intents and purposes, have checked out for the season. Mentally, they're not there anymore. Have been playing absolutely abysmal for the last 2 weeks. And they haven't really been the same team since that loss to Pittsburgh in primetime. That broke them. That broke them down a lot. And a tough game against a division foe will do that to you. There were a lot of injuries that game from both sides. A lot of penalties thrown out, a lot of suspensions even too. For Detroit, though, they have to keep battling. They must keep battling if they want to secure that wild card spot, much like my Ravens do. Detroit doesn't blow teams out, right? But they have a game manager in Matt Stafford, and he doesn't need to have a big game in order for the team to win. But I think this is the game where he will have the big game against a very battered and beat up Cincinnati Bengals defense. I'm taking the Lions to win this one.
Yeah, I really wish I could look at the Bengals as a more competitive team in this game, because I would really like to see them win what will be Marvin Lewis's last game at home, carry him off the field. He has this Rudy moment, and it's like that's Marvin Lewis's end, because he will never be a head coach in the NFL again. I'm calling that right now. I really don't have a whole lot to say on this one. Bengals are banged up, as you had mentioned. They're not playing well, even completely healthy. Lions need a win here. Matt Stafford and the Lions, they have shown the ability to put up points. I don't think that the Bengals have shown that ability to put up points themselves. So I'm taking the Lions here. And yeah, I think it'll be close, because Detroit, they're always their worst enemy, their own worst enemy. But I do think they will win this one.
There you go. Alrighty. So we've got the 8-6 Kansas City Chiefs taking on the 6-8 Miami Dolphins. Chiefs hosting this one. Miami is a team that's very much hanging on by a thread right now in the AFC wildcard race. Playing another consecutive road game, playing for a team that's playing for a division title, especially since they won last week against the Chargers. That was a big win for the Chiefs, which I believe gets KC back in their groove in the West, right? If they feel like it's theirs to run and it's theirs to keep, they can win a division title, or they can win a division in style by simply keeping the game plan bare bones and as simple as possible. Run it with Kareem Hunt and get Tyreek Hill the ball as much as possible. We've seen a trend going on lately. When Tyreek Hill and Kareem Hunt get the ball early and often, the Chiefs win. Simple as that. But when you don't, it's not a good thing. It tends to be a long day for the Chiefs defense. Overall, it's just not a good combo. So I think that they're going to keep doing that, and the defense is going to have a very, very good performance against a shoddy quarterback in Jay Cutler. So I'm taking the Chiefs.
So I didn't know this until just now. But do you realize the Miami Dolphins, it would take a miracle, but they could still make the playoffs right now?
Really? Even them being 6-8 and not in any of the projections right now?
They can do it. It's one of the most absurd scenarios according to ESPN's 538.
Do you happen to have the scenario, the exact scenario that has to go down for the Dolphins?
Let's take a look at this, because this is interesting to me that they could somehow get in.
That doesn't make any sense.
I can't find it. I'm sorry, but they can still.
But you're saying there is a path to victory here? A path to the playoffs?
There is a path. They can apparently still make the playoff. Okay, so right here, they need a straight flush, basically. So they would need the Rams to beat Tennessee, the Chargers to lose, Miami has to win, Indy has to beat Baltimore, and then in Week 17 they need Jacksonville to beat Tennessee, they need to beat Buffalo, and Baltimore loses to Cincinnati.
Oh my goodness.
Every single one of those 7 game outcomes has to happen.
Talk about living on a prayer. Wow. I don't see.
Well, I'm going to get a Jay Cutler voodoo doll, and we're going to try to make this happen.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
So, I do think they still have something to play for. I do think that Jay Cutler has some sense of pride going into this. It hasn't been the ideal situation for him in Miami. He really hasn't delivered on what they thought they were getting. And it's unfortunate because I really wanted to see Jay Cutler have one good year, one good run,
Likewise.
win a couple playoff games, ride off into the sunset with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, but it just didn't happen.
Like one of those classic hold my beer moments in NFL history.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I could totally see Jay Cutler saying hold my beer. But anyway, I actually like the Dolphins in this game just because the Chiefs have been remarkably inconsistent past week 6 of the NFL season. So I'm actually going to take the Dolphins in this one. It's my upset pick of the week. I know it. Yeah, I think the Dolphins they're playing for the coaching staff. They're playing for Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler needs this win. I'm taking the Dolphins.
Oh my goodness, he did it. I didn't think you were capable of doing this. What is the Vegas line on this? I think you're going heavily against the spread here.
Kansas City is a 10.5 point favorite.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Hey, you know what? Take the points. Take the point because
I don't know what you see in this. Are you trolling right now? You're actually taking the Miami Dolphins.
I am not trolling.
Okay.
I really think the Dolphins I don't think that they want to finish 6-10. I think this team wants to finish 8-8 and have some sense of pride going into next year. Whoever their quarterback's going to be, because it probably won't be Ryan Tannehill.
All righty. Okay, you stick with that then. You got the Dolphins. You're locking that in.
It's going to happen.
Next game is the beginning of the afternoon games. Remember, there's no Sunday night football this week. So once the afternoon games are over, football's over for Sunday. We got the 4-10 49ers hosting the 10-4 Jacksonville Jaguars. Really not much to say about this game. Complete mismatch. Jimmy Garoppolo gets his first test against a very good team. Yes, he's 3-0 in his first 3 starts. The guy can't lose. He's going to move around, guarantee that. He's going to be gunslinging, I can guarantee that. But San Francisco's offense will be contained by Jacksonville's superb pass rush and secondary. You can pretty much bank on that. Like I said, I don't see a path to victory here for the 49ers. Jacksonville's going to lock up the AFC South with a win here, taking Jacksonville.
Yeah, Jacksonville showed last week that they can beat a bad football team. The Texans have just been ravaged by injuries, and I mean, it was embarrassing for the Texans.
Yep.
Really funny thing that I saw right before we started recording this is Jaguars fans got really mad that Jadeveon Clowney, aka Clownvis, said that Blake Bortles was garbage or trash after the game.
Really?
So Jaguars fans are going en masse to Amazon.com, ordering trash bins and sending them to the Texans care of
goodness,
Clowney. So Jaguars fans are having a lot of fun in Jacksonville right now. I think the fun continues. I think Jimmy Garoppolo faces his first true tough challenge here. And I do think he is a guy for their future. I really do think there's a chance that he's the QB for the future, but this is not going to be his week. I have the Jaguars winning this one big. I think the 4.5 point line is a little low. So again, I would say, man, because they blew out the Texans by 42. I'm not saying they're going to blow out the 49ers by 42 going on the road, but I don't think they're only going to win by 5. That's a little low. But yeah, Jaguars.
Yeah, that is. All right, so you're taking the Jaguars as well. All right, our second of the afternoon Sunday games is the 6-8 Cardinals hosting the 2-12 Giants. Man, do we have to watch this game? Like, I don't think this is going to be televised in my opinion, but Giants seem to have found some extra energy after facing the Eagles last week. Actually did give them a run for their money for that first half. At one point, they were up 20-7. I liked what I saw in the Giants, but obviously they ended up losing that game. I think that mojo, though, that 20-7 mentality, like them being up 27 against a division foe, and a potential Super Bowl candidate in the Eagles. I think that's going to carry on over into this match, into a good matchup on the road for the Giants. I think Drew Stanton is returning for Arizona as a starting quarterback, if I'm not mistaken, and he's got limited help out there. His options and weapons are very limited, whereas Eli Manning is right now playing as well as he can for obvious reasons. He's playing as well as he can to stay in New York's game plan for 2018. I've got this. I know you called the upset special for the Dolphins. This is actually my upset special. I'm taking the Giants to win away in this game.
That was something that I considered myself, is the Giants winning this one, especially with how good they looked against the Eagles last week. And I think, like, when we look back, we're going to look at this Giants team and say they probably were a fringe playoff team, but the injuries just killed them.
Right.
I mean, it was injuries and bad coaching. Like, everybody talks about Hugh Jackson, but my goodness, like, Ben McAdoo really threw this team into a tailspin.
He did.
And really exacerbated things. But this is a tough one, man. It's, you know, to me, it's almost like a coin flip game. I'm not going to flip a coin on it because I really do think the Cardinals will win this one with Drew Stanton at quarterback. They showed a little bit more spark on offense, and they're playing at home. That's the best sell job I can give you on that. But give me a couple beers, you could probably talk me into the Giants. Yeah, so I'm taking the Cardinals here. I think it'll be remarkably close. I wouldn't put any money on this game. And I wouldn't even play anybody in fantasy football on this game. I think it's going to be ugly, low scoring. Like you said, I don't think it makes for good TV. That's all I can say.
But who do you have?
Cardinals.
You got the Cardinals. Okay.
It's going to be close, but the
Alrighty.
Cardinals.
I believe that's our third disagreement of the week. So we're doing pretty well. Next game is the last game of Sunday. After this game, there's not going to be any Sunday Night Football. Don't even bother switching the set to NBC. There's not going to be a Sunday night game, so don't worry about that. 8-6 Dallas Cowboys hosting the also 8-6 Seattle Seahawks. This is actually my game of the week. This is, I think, in my opinion, this is going to be the best game of the week as far as like the back and forth kind of gameplay that we all like to see. Seattle looked to be absolutely done last week against the Rams, and they looked like a shell of the team that we expected them to be. Right, Russell Wilson was still running around like a chicken with his head cut off, running around for his life, doing his thing. But there's a lack of line and support for him, and the pass rush is getting to him heavily. He can't take much of these hits for much longer. They've got to protect him better. I don't know what the answer is to that. It's sure as heck not going to get easier, especially if they do intend on making the playoffs and going up against better pass rushes. But Dallas Cowboys, man, they're going to have fun with this Seattle injury-ravaged defense, which is barely holding together at this point. And they're going to use up as much clock as they can because guess who comes back? Ezekiel Elliott. That's going to be a huge positional battle for the Cowboys. Having Zeke back is a big pillar to this offense. And what helps the Cowboys is that their defense continues to be sparked by the heart and intensity of Sean Lee. He's their defensive leader. I think Russell Wilson in this game will keep it close, but Dak's going to put it away. I got the Cowboys winning this one.
Yeah, I gotta say, it's going to be a really, really tough game for the Seahawks. They didn't look good against the Rams. I think the injuries are finally starting to catch up with them. As far as Russell Wilson goes, you can't play NFL football like it's Madden forever. Like, you can't keep running back 10 yards and scrambling. Like, it eventually does catch up with you, and unfortunately it did last week and even the week before with Jacksonville. I think they're going to be a little bit more successful on offense against the Cowboys because I don't really have a lot of faith in the Cowboys defense. But what I will say is towards the latter half of this season, the Cowboys have shown a propensity at making plays on defense and special teams. And I think that will play well for them here. They are playing at home. They get Zeke. If I am Jason Garrett, I'm calling up Sean McVay and I'm asking him, what was your game plan going into the Seahawks game last week to get Todd Gurley going? And I do the same thing with Ezekiel Elliott because he's coming back. He's fresh. He hasn't been hit in weeks. He's probably the freshest player in the NFL right now going into this week. So I think the Cowboys are going to be really run heavy. I think they're going to get the ball in Ezekiel Elliott's hands 25, 30 times between running it and passing it. And the Seahawks just aren't going to be able to keep up. So I have the Cowboys winning this one. I think they'll cover the 5-point spread too. And sorry Seahawks fans. I know you already hate me, but sorry.
Okay, so we're both on the money for the Cowboys in that game.
Yep.
We have 2 more games to discuss. They're both Monday Night Football games. After these games are discussed, we're going to be hopping on into Discord, or we're going to be pulling people into Discord so you can call in. We have a lobby set up, a voice chat lobby called NTL Show Call-Ins. Definitely join in there if you have anything you want to comment, contribute. If you have any questions for us even, definitely get in there. Monday Night Football, Game 1. This has got a start time of 3:30 p.m. Pacific time, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. We've got the 4-10 Houston Texans hosting the 11-3 Pittsburgh Steelers. Not much of a game here. Not much of a game. I don't know why this is a Monday night game. Probably at the start of the year, they're like, oh, this is going to be a great matchup. The fierce Houston Texans defense taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, the Steelers are holding up their end of the bargain, but not much there for Houston. Talk about a shell of a team. Pittsburgh is playing with playoff seeding on the line here. Pittsburgh won't have Antonio Brown, I believe, as of this morning. That's been confirmed. But they will have plenty of frustrations from the Pats game last week, where Jones didn't, or it was the tight end that didn't get the touchdown. And it really upset a lot of people. And that ended up being a pivotal call in the game. And it obviously ended with an interception in the end zone by the New England Patriots. But Martavis Bryant, guys like Martavis Bryant, Juju Smith-Schuster, Le'Veon Bell, that's enough weapons out there to keep Houston's defense absolutely crazy. It's organized chaos. They don't know what to defend. Who do you double up? You can't. There's so much speed, so much talent on the field. If you're the Steelers, how do you account for all that? And I don't think the Houston Texans will. Houston right now, what they do have working for them is DeAndre Hopkins. And outside of that, really there's not much there. The team's absolutely decimated by injuries. Like I said, I don't think this is going to be much of a game. I'm going to take the Steelers to win this one. This seems like an obvious pick. Alex?
Yeah, I'm not really high on the Texans right now. I think the only really good player, as you mentioned, that's really had a great year has been DeAndre Hopkins. But DeAndre Hopkins always has a great year, and quite honestly, in my opinion, very underrated. Might be the best receiver in the NFL when you take into consideration who he's had throwing to him his entire career. Look at the numbers. Look at who threw to him those years, and you'll see DeAndre Hopkins might be one of the most talented wide receivers in the league, but and getting better every year, by the way. But Clowney kind of stepped up a little bit this year. But I think the future's bright in Houston. They have a really promising quarterback in Deshaun Watson. I think he still needs to develop, but getting JJ Watt, Deshaun Watson back next year, they could make a little bit of noise. You never know. But this game, it's too much for them. I think the Steelers' offense will be really good. Martavis Bryant, you got your wish. You wanted more targets. You wanted to be more involved in game plans. You're going to get that now. I hope he shows up like he says he will. He certainly did in the game against the Patriots. He had some really good plays in that one. And I also think Juju Smith-Schuster, what a playmaker, man. That guy is going to be great. He's so young still. I think he's still like 21 years old. So, I mean, that guy's just going to get better. Just like the Steelers needed another weapon on offense, right? So, anyway, I have the Steelers winning this one despite the Antonio Brown injury, and I don't think it'll be pretty.
Yeah, and just a little side note with that Martavis Bryant thing. If you remember, they didn't start off the season the best of friends. In fact, Martavis Bryant wanted a trade because he butted heads with Big Ben so often, But
He
Obviously,
thinks he can be a number one wide receiver, so here's his chance. Like,
here's his chance, yeah.
Like in reality, I mean, I would tell you, Martavis Bryant, go out this game, ball out, because if you do, the Steelers would be inclined to maybe trade you because your trade stock would go up. So he's getting what he wished for. I really do hope it works out for him.
Me too. I mean, I'm a Ravens fan, but you like to see the best in people. Just not when they're playing us. So I wish him the best of success, except twice a year when he's playing the Ravens. So all that to say, we're both on the Steelers. Final game of Week 16. We've got the 12-2 Philadelphia Eagles hosting the 6-8 Oakland Raiders. Again, not much of a game. I mean, this is a very sorry Monday Night Football lineup. I guess the only thing we have going for us is that it's a doubleheader. Outside of that, what makes this worth watching? Side note, also, the Houston Texans game and Steelers game will not be played on ESPN. I know you guys are used to seeing Monday Night Football on ESPN. You actually will have to switch to NBC. NBC for the first game and then ESPN for the Monday Night Football game. Derek Carr and Jack Del Rio aren't the aggressive, finish the QB combo that they were. The QB coach. Like last year, if you remember, they let Derek Carr run a lot of plays. They let him call a lot of plays in the huddle. This year, like they've taken that away from him for whatever reason, and it kind of sucks to see. Because I like Derek Carr. I think he's a great guy on and off the field. I truly believe that. Philadelphia right now is playing for a top seed. We've mentioned this already. They're up there with the Minnesota Vikings. Philadelphia with Nick Foles. I will tell you this is going to surprise a lot of people. In my opinion, Philadelphia with Nick Foles and Doug Peterson are pretty much the same team they were with Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson. I'm just saying. That's the way it looks to me. Oakland's defense will have absolutely no answers, and offense will continue to struggle once Lynch is contained in this game. And I don't think it'll take the Eagles very long to contain Marshawn Lynch. Once they take him away, that Oakland Raiders offense is very one-dimensional. And please believe the Oakland Raiders are not going to capitalize, and the Eagles are going to expose them for being one-dimensional. They're going to go pass-heavy, the Raiders are, and that's what the Eagles want. They're played right into their hands. I'm taking the Eagles winning this one at home at night.
So, yeah, Raiders, they looked really good last week in that loss. I mean, talk about a game coming all the way down to the last play. Derek Carr was so close to making that play and, getting them the win. But I just, I like the Eagles right now, even with Nick Foles. Nick Foles really showed up last week and proved a lot of naysayers wrong. I know that he had some rough years in St. Louis and, even in Philadelphia, he had that one really good year and then a year that was kind of disappointing. I think now, they've kind of tailored the game plan a little bit. I know that he can't run out of the pocket like Wentz could, but he can still do a lot of other things really well. And Doug Peterson's a really, really smart coach. He's proven that over the last 2 years. I know there were some doubts about him, but he was a former quarterback himself, and he was one of the best backups in the game for a very long in the NFL, for a very long time in the NFL. So I would expect the Eagles win this game. I think Nick Foles will continue to be successful. Very good matchup for him to build up some confidence in Oakland. And I think Oakland has shown a little tinge of dysfunctionality here towards the end of the season. A lot of that kind of brought on by Marshawn Lynch. I don't know that he's going to be asked to come back next year if he wants to play. But nevertheless, I got the Eagles winning this one. I think it'll be close, but I do have the Eagles winning. Okay.
All right. So I think in Week 16, there's only been like 3 or 4 games where you and I were split on, which is pretty much the norm. You and I are pretty much in the 64 percentile as far as like correctly picked games, which is up there with much of the ESPN, CBS, NFL pundits. So we are to be 64% correct on the season. Not bad so far. But we've reached the point now where we're going to start taking call-ins. So if you guys want to contribute anything to the podcast, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, either for it's me or if it's for Alex or for both of us, definitely call in. It's free. There's nothing you have to do. Just get in the Discord. Link is down below. First up, we have Big Mac 5555. What's up, Big Mac? How you doing? Oh, and he left. All right. I don't think he had his mic plugged in. So next up, we've got the official Mole. What's going on, Mole?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Not much, man. How are you?
You know what? Just hanging out, playing Madden, listening in.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
So what's going on? You have a comment question?
Yeah, I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
Who do you think will be the Week 1 starter for the Minnesota Vikings next year?
Ooh.
That's a tough one. To be honest with you, I think they continue to go with a hot hand, and I think Bridgewater, he's a great quarterback. I think he can go elsewhere and become a starter. I think that's where you're going with this. I don't see, to answer your indirect question, I don't see Bridgewater being the starter for the Minnesota Vikings.
Okay.
Is that crazy? Is that crazy to think? Oh, you do agree with that?
I agree with you. Here's what I think. I think now, I don't know how well you know who Pat Shurmur is, but he's the offensive coordinator of the Vikings, former Browns head coach. He will be a hot candidate for a head coaching job next year. Now, if he stays, I think they keep Keenum as the starter because him and Keenum have kind of built that core together.
The team looks very good, very cohesive bunch with Case Keenum leading the bunch. You know.
Yeah, they are, and I think Keenum. I don't think he's quite at. He's either. I think I heard who was saying it the other day. It was one of the media guys. I think it was Colin Cowherd or somebody said he's either the best backup in the NFL or he's like a low to mid tier starter.
Okay,
that's kind of how he's playing right now. I don't know what you think about it, but
I'm inclined to agree with that.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty much all I got.
But
it's exciting. I'm ready for the playoffs. Vikings.
I'm ready too.
They're the best team in the NFC. That's my opinion.
You think so? Okay.
I think they are. I think the Eagles would have been, but I don't believe in Foles.
Like I said, man, like you're in a position now where, yeah, to a certain extent, your Vikings control their own destiny, but please believe there's going to be a lot of scoreboard watching throughout this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's going to be a lot of scoreboard watching.
Listen, you talk about playoff scenarios. I'm rooting for the Atlanta Falcons this week. I'm basically rooting for every team in the NFC South other than the Carolina Panthers, simply because if Minnesota wins one of their next 2 games, which I think they will, if Carolina is not tied with Minnesota as the sole team at 12-4, 11-5, Minnesota they will own that first round bye. So I'm pulling for LA to keep winning, New Orleans to keep winning, and Atlanta to win, just so that if there is a 3-team tiebreaker, Minnesota virtually owns every 3-team tiebreaker there could be for that first round bye, unless Carolina outright wins the next 2 games, Atlanta and New Orleans throws a dud, Minnesota ends up tied with Carolina, in which case Carolina owns the tiebreaker, which I don't want.
Right.
So there's a lot going on, man.
It's many people's favorite time of the year, not only holiday wise, but football wise too. Like January, December football, like this is as good as it gets in my opinion.
Yep.
So thanks for calling in, man.
Absolutely, man. Keep it going.
Thank you. All right, and I think Big Mac couldn't get his mic working. So that's going to do it for us this week, guys. Week 16 NFL Talk Live podcast is in the books. Thank you all for joining us. We've got one more left in next week. We got Week 17 NFL Talk Live coming to you probably next Thursday around the same time. I want to say a huge shout out to all you guys who come through on a regular basis, as well as my co-host, Alex, a.k.a. PurpleSwordfish. This show wouldn't be what it is without him, so I appreciate him. Till next time, this is your host, Reigning Ravens 1, and my co-host, Alex, a.k.a. PurpleSwordfish, saying goodbye until next time.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of NFL Talk Live with Reigning Ravens 1 and Alex, a.k.a. PurpleSwordfish. Streaming weekly on the YouTube channel Reigning Ravens 1 with all the audio archives on SoundCloud. Follow Reigning Ravens 1 on Twitter at Reigning Ravens 1 and follow Alex on Twitter at Swordfish Show. If you'd like to be part of the live call-in on the next episode, make sure to join the Discord server. This podcast is sponsored by Jerky XP. Save money on your order at the checkout by using the code RR1. We'll catch you next time on NFL Talk Live.